I recently asked ChatGPT what the number one most common personal fear in the world is. Its response: public speaking. In this video, I am going to give you 7 ways to reduce your speaking anxiety. And to start off, I'm going to explain why public speaking is such a common fear, because it doesn't have so much to do with standing on a stage, speaking in front of people. It has to do with the social fear, the potential judgment of what people might think. Because let's face it, when we deliver a presentation, there are many people in the audience and all of their time is incredibly valuable. So for us, it's a lot of pressure to ensure that we are providing those people with value and not wasting their time. I want you to know right off the start that this nervousness, this anxiety around public speaking is incredibly normal, whether you are a seasoned, polished, even keynote speaker. Keynote professional speakers still get nervous before they deliver their speeches, as do brand new speakers. It is very common, but there are 7 key ways to deal with those public speaking nerves. The first powerful way to deal with public speaking anxiety is to deliver humor early on in your speech or speaking opportunity. Humor is one of the most powerful tools we have as public speakers because it does 2 things. First, it relaxes the audience. When an audience is sat in front of a speaker, there's many things running through each of those individuals' minds, such as, is this going to be interesting? Is this going to be entertaining? But as soon as that audience starts laughing, instantly they relax. They know that the speaker knows what he or she is doing, and it's going to be an enjoyable speech. They're already laughing. But the second thing humor does, which is really powerful, is it gives this boost of confidence to you, the speaker, because when you hear an audience laughing, that is a universal sign that they are enjoying themselves. When you're on stage and you hear that laughter, it's an instant dose of confidence. The second thing you can do to reduce your speaking anxiety is bring water with you on stage. The reason this is important is that our bodies do some funny things when we are delivering speeches, and something that's very common is many speakers' mouths go dry. We get that stickiness. Whereas if you have water and you can hydrate and you strategically do that in between sentences, that doesn't look odd to the audience. That looks completely normal. But I have seen some speakers take the stage, get that dry mouth, and then really it unravels on them because they become self-conscious about it. The audience notices it. So please bring water on stage with you. Speaking of things that our bodies do that we can't really control, that leads me into my third tip, and that is to bring a binder or something heavy along with your notes if you have notes. Now, if there's a lectern or a stand up on the stage, that's a fine place to put your notes and you don't have to worry about this. But sometimes we go to the front of the room and we have to be reading off of a piece of paper. I've talked about this before. Ideally, you don't want to use notes in your speech, but this is if you absolutely need to. But what happens is our hands shake when we speak because we have that nervousness or that anxiety. And if you have a single piece of paper in your hand, that is going to rattle as you're reading off of it, and it's going to vibrate, and people will notice that, and you will notice it, and it will make you even more nervous. But if you have something heavier, like a full notepad, something that has a little bit more structure to it, that's harder to notice when it's shaking. Your hand can be shaking a bit, and because this is heavier, you won't be able to shake the full binder or notepad that you have behind the piece of paper. So bring something heavy if you have a single piece of paper with notes. The fourth way to reduce speaking anxiety is something called box breathing. So the concept of box breathing is to really take control of your breath and calm your body down, because we probably have all sorts of nerves before we step on stage. And the concept is that you start with 4 seconds inhaling, then hold for 4 seconds, then exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and then start back up, and it makes this box-like structure when you follow that. 4 seconds, hold, 4 seconds, exhale, hold, and that is going to calm your body down right before you get on stage. I use these breathing exercises almost every time I give a presentation, and they make a world of difference for me. My next tip is, if you have the opportunity to get to the venue a little bit early, stand at the front of the room where you will be speaking or on stage and visualize yourself giving the presentation. Even though you're in a room full of empty chairs, imagine that those chairs are full. Stand in that spot, look out, and it will reduce the anxiety when you do step on stage to actually give that speech. Because one of the reasons people get nervous is that the first time they step on stage, that's the first time they're seeing that vantage point and all of the eyes on them. But if you've already gone through that process of visualization, it's going to make that moment when you do begin your speech a little bit less daunting. I recently had the chance to do an interview with a wonderful woman named Urmi, who has another YouTube channel. And in that conversation, she shared a great idea with me, which is doing the power pose. So for some, that's the hand at the side, almost like the Wonder Woman type pose with their hands like this. Other ways, it's to stretch out your arms, but it's these powerful poses that get your body ready for action. And I think a key piece here is, before you step on stage, stand up. Be stood up at the side of the room rather than seated, because if you're called up to give a presentation and you've been sat down for the last hour, now that's your body going from a restful state instantly into a high anxiety point in time where you are delivering a speech. And you're much better off to already be standing, already being with that power pose in an action position, ready to go and deliver that speech. The final tip I have for you is to practice. This is a common theme on every one of my videos, but this is probably the single most important thing you can do before delivering a speech or giving any sort of presentation, because the more times we've run through something while practicing in front of people, by ourselves, whatever that looks like, the more comfortable we're going to be with that content, and the less likely we're going to freeze on stage and totally forget what it is that we're going to talk about. There are a number of ways to practice your public speaking skills. One, of course, is Toastmasters. I'm a huge advocate of Toastmasters International, and many cities have multiple options of Toastmasters clubs. But the other opportunity to practice, if you don't have access to Toastmasters, is through an app that I've discovered called Speako. Speako is one of the best public speaking apps I've personally experienced, and there's a link below in my show notes that has a 15% off discount to the pro version of Speako that unlocks all of the features. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out and get that discount. I hope these tips on how to reduce speaking anxiety have been beneficial to you. If they were, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos, and keep an eye on this channel. Many more great videos to help you become a more impactful communicator are on the way.